Okay, hello again, everybody. We're back. So it's been a minute. We've been kind of on a bit of hiatus. A lot of stuff going on in the world.
It's been my fault. It's all me. I'm terrible at scheduling.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I feel like it's kind of crazy because, like, at some point there was COVID. There's like COVID and there's later today I'm actually gonna go get a vaccine.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's good for me. But I have to drive a couple hours, which isn't too bad. But there's that. There's you moved. You're actually at a different place now, which is cool. Got a nice backdrop.
This is my window.
Yeah, this is your window. I liked your old backdrop. But yeah, you live next to like a military base, right? Before?
So it's still technically the same house. It's a different bedroom, but I moved all of my furniture from my apartment, and there is a military base not too far down the road, which is kind of cool. There's a lot of planes. There's one flying overhead right now. And I recently learned that the military base was allegedly involved in a UFO cover-up, which is super freaking cool.
Wow.
Shouldn't surprise me. It's the Air Force.
So, the aliens landed there.
Yes. Possibly. Maybe. Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
But yeah, all of my furniture had to come here, and we're in a new room with a walk-in closet, which I have not had since I was probably 9. So yeah, it's wicked nice. We're still setting things up, so it's still in that. We mostly just don't want to carry stuff upstairs, which is, I think, understandable because we're just we're just enjoying being lazy now because we don't have too many serious obligations that eat up our weekend. So, which is nice. But
that's cool. So you're on the first floor.
Second floor now.
Oh, okay.
I was I think technically my first apartment was on a third floor, technically. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's nice. It's a very nice area. I'm not afraid to walk my dog anymore down the street, which is really great. Yeah, so it's a much better environment.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so today we're talking about Dark City, a very interesting film. So it's Dark City is this the thing that's interesting is like the genres of this film, right? Like this thing is all over the place in terms of genre. I mean, really at heart it's a sci-fi movie with a mystery element.
For sure.
But it also gets into this kind of noirish kind of like 1940s, 50s kind of thing, which is cool. But it throws a lot at you. Like
it does for sure.
Off the bat, it throws a lot at you. Did you watch this film like around the time when it came out, or did it take you a while to see it when you first saw it?
It took me a while to see it. I didn't see it when it first came out. I don't think it's like a movie my parents probably would have watched, not because of any of the subject matter or anything, probably just because it didn't appeal to them. But I watched it maybe 5 years ago for the first time. Someone at work loaned me the DVD and was like, "Hey, you should watch this if you like sci-fi." And I really liked it, and then never really revisited it again. And then I don't think what I watched was the director's cut. So it was a nice treat to go back to because, like I said before, I've been like revisiting a lot of movies that I haven't seen in a long time, and this is definitely like a good sci-fi noir because sometimes that doesn't always work together. It doesn't always blend. They don't always make a nice baby. But this was good.
Yeah, this is a really interesting film, especially because so this movie comes out before The Matrix, like a year before. There was a lot of I don't know what was going on, but there was something where people were like, okay, our reality is changing and art has to reflect that. because there's so many films where it's like we're in some fake world, it's controlled by other things, or something doesn't make sense.
Our reality is not our own. We're not who we think we are. It's almost like a invasion of the body snatchers kind of a thing, where you get taken away and something takes over. But in this case, we're still ourselves, but something is controlling us. Something like literally beneath our feet, and it's creepy. And change makes people very uncomfortable sometimes, and they assume the worst of things when change happens.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of stuff about the internet, and like just on a random aside, like a lot of stuff about reality TV. I think we talked about a little bit about I forget exactly what it's called, but the Jim Carrey movie where he's
The Truman Show. Yeah,
the Truman Show. Yeah, that's another late '90s movie where it's like all these things, and it's like, hey, how bad could it be? How bad could the internet be? It feels like Dark City and some of these movies. That's kind of what they're at. It's like, this is what the internet could be, I guess. That's kind of how I feel. Is like that's what was in the ether, was people thinking about what the internet could be. It could be this. It could be Dark City. It could be this weird world controlled by people. What could reality TV be? Well, it could be your whole life is a reality show and no one told you, but the world just feels off. Yeah. It's interesting.
People aren't who they say they are.
Yeah.
Even though in the Truman Show, the neighbors do seem to like Truman. And that's not, do they like him because they are a part of this grandiose show? That's what I love about the beginning of the film, is that they're doing these mock, like, behind the scenes interviews of all the characters, and they're excited to be there. Like, they love it. Like Laura Linney's character says, my life is the Truman Show.
Yeah.
And she's never going to get married elsewhere. She's never going to leave this bubble. And they're fine with that. They're fine with lying to Truman, because to them it's not a lie. This is his reality.
Yeah.
And that's really dark. That's a really dark reality to live in.
It's super dark, but it feels very true. Mm-hmm. Feels very true if you think about the world, what people kind of do. Some people do for fame. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of. It's sick sometimes what people do for fame, and yeesh, I think we've seen plenty of examples of that. Plenty.
Yeah. Totally. So Dark City is like, it's an interesting piece, because it's really a cult film. I don't think it had a huge impact when it came out, but people talked about it, and I remember hearing a lot about it. And then when I finally watched it, I was like, okay, this is very interesting. It took me a while to see it though. So let's just get into the plot. So the film opens where we just see this guy he wakes up in a bathtub, and he's naked, and there's blood on his face, and he's in this really cool kind of room. It kind of reminds me of like in The Shining, where the old woman was in the bathtub. Kind of looks like that.
It's got this, like, maybe when it was brand new, it was like really grand and opulent and like maybe a nice place to stay, but it has age to it, which I really like. And it's got, like, I don't know if that was a set or not, but it was whoever designed it, if it wasn't, it was really, really cool looking. And it's dark, and it's got, again, it has, even though it came out before The Matrix, I feel like people would say it has that Matrix filter, like the green almost. There's always like this green kind of haze over things, which I really like.
Yeah, that was cool. I believe that style is like an Art Deco style of bathroom. I think that's why, because I believe that those, especially like in hotels and certain buildings like that, that's how they made the bathroom look. But yeah, it's very distinct, and it feels old. Like you said, it feels old. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's from the 1940s or 50s or something, or 30s.
Yep. But it's been sitting there and it's been reused.
Yeah. So yeah, this guy, he wakes up and then like he sees his clothes in the corner of the room. He like walks out of the room and then he like accidentally breaks a fishbowl. And this poor fish is down there and then he like puts him into the tub, save the fish. And then he has no idea what's going on. This guy has no idea what's going on. And then he's like, okay, he's just trying to figure out what he's doing. Puts on his clothes. Someone calls him on the phone. He's like, oh, and by the way, okay, so this is Kiefer Sutherland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very, very interesting performance.
Yeah, it's almost like an Igor type performance, but not. Yeah. But I like how he added like he's obviously got a limp. He has some medical issues going on. He adds like he's very breathless. He's trying to get a lot of words out in a short period of time, but he's like, he can't because he needs to be able to like breathe. And I thought that was a nice little choice for Kiefer Sutherland, or I don't know who to suggest, maybe a director suggested, I don't know, but it was a nice character choice for him because he always has a lot to say because he knows everything. Yeah. And it was just a nice little like character eccentricity or something like that.
Very eccentric. Yeah. He's like,
okay, calm down. Everybody just calm down.
And he's on the phone. You lost all your memories. You have to find me. Do it now. You have to run. They're coming for you. I have to go.
Yep.
And we're just like, what?
I just woke up and a fish almost died. And I actually do like that moment with the fish because it kind of gives you a little peek of his humanity because if someone walks by a fish that's like dying and they're like, wow, you're kind of a shitty person. You can't just pick it up and put it in some water or something like that. Yeah. Exactly. Like it's not going to hurt you to help a fish. And I like that he reaches down. He just takes a minute. He has no idea what's going on, but he takes that one moment to like save the fish. And I like that. I like that moment.
Yeah. It's cool. And we kind of get at first that he's not the person who killed this woman. Like there's this woman who's dead in there and it's like she got they put a spiral carved into her, but dead body. Pretty bad. And one other thing that we kind of notice is that it's midnight. It's midnight right when this happens. And so, he's like trying to leave this hotel. We see these three figures these people who wear black suits. They are really pale. They're really kind of weird looking.
Just off-putting, like
very off-putting.
I don't want to know who I know you.
Very off-putting. So this is another thing too. So this the Men in Black archetype was very big. Like that's the agents in the Matrix. They're basically the Men in Black. These people who just show up and just brainwash you or they manipulate you. There's literally the Matrix, Men in Black, and this movie. It's all the same thing. It's just different interpretations of that character. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting. Because that's the thing. I feel like in the X-Files they kind of talk about that too.
They
Men in Black
probably do because the fun MIB Men in Black is not what real conspiracy theorists know the Men in Black to be. They're supposed to be either inhuman, androids, aliens, something very creepy that you don't want showing up at your front door saying, hey, remember that UFO you saw 3 months ago? Well, I'm going to need to scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
They're not the fun, Tommy Lee Jones guy.
Yeah, it's not exactly. It's really kind of scary stuff.
Yeah.
People talk about it.
Even though the MIB Men in Black still do some pretty shady shit. They still erase your memories. But, it's supposed to be for the good of humanity because our brains will explode if we see an alien. So they're the nice MIB.
Yeah, exactly. They're the nice MIB and they're like, oh, hey, you're not ready. So we're just going to brainwash you. But don't worry. We'll take care of it because we're not going to let the giant bugs take over the world.
Exactly. We don't want... We don't need cockroaches. We don't need more cockroaches.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't need more cockroaches in New York City. So these Men in Black come and So this main character, he's like leaving. And everyone, so he gets into the lobby and everyone's asleep. Then everyone wakes up and like I think the term for it is like night auditor, like the guy who's like the head of the at a hotel or whatever, who's like checking people in and out. And it's like, hey, Mr. Murdoch, you missed your calls, blah blah blah. It's funny too because it's like
Hey,
it's very yeah. It's like it's very kind of 1940s 50s speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you gotta pay your rent or you gotta get out of here.
And it's like $5.
Yeah. He's like, I'll pay you later. It's like I forget. He says something. He has some kind of he says something that's kind of like his catchphrase, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one, it's like I forget what he said. Anyway, it was funny. And so then Murdoch. So we know this guy's name is Murdoch now, the main character. So he just gets out of Dodge. He's like, I'm out of here. I gotta leave. And then this night auditor guy goes to like basically evict him, like change the keys at his house or whatever. And then the men in black come. And they make these weird chittering noises too.
Oh yeah, that was creepy. I forgot about that from when I first saw that.
Yeah.
It's like,
is
that necessary? Like, is that just a tick that you do, or should I be scared?
And by the way, there's like a kid there too. There's like a little creepy kid. Yeah, very weird.
I feel like the 90s had a bunch of creepy kids have always been in movies, but I feel like the 90s especially was like, we need to turn up the creepy kid thing. I need creepy kids in all my movies. They don't have to say anything. Just have them stand there, and that'll freak people out enough. Maybe have them bite somebody.
We get some biting in here.
It's like that little shit just bit him. Like, what the hell? Have you ever been bitten before? It hurts.
Thankfully, no, but I can imagine.
I had a brother who was a biter, and it sucked.
No. So then the guy is like, oh, he left 5 minutes ago. And he says, sleep now. And he goes to sleep.
It's like, okay, I'll go to sleep. Just stop making that freaking noise.
Yeah, it's very creepy. And again, I don't know I don't know what it is, but like this is the classic Men in Black archetype.
Mm-hmm.
These things that they're really creepy and weird, but they can brainwash you, and you won't know that they exist, even though they're all over the place doing all this stuff. Very interesting that became, such a thing. I guess it's just people. I'm just thinking what would drive that. I guess it's just people like they feel, kind of the gaslighting or Mandela effect kind of stuff, where it's like, oh, I know I saw that. I know I saw a UFO. I know I saw whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But something's making me forget that it was there. Or in this film, it's really, and so is The Matrix. I know that the world is off. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it.
And if I tell someone I'm crazy.
Yeah. I'm the crazy one, but
exactly.
there's freaking weird pale people wearing, wearing trench coats running around. And when was the last time it was daytime?
Exactly. That's something I picked up on. Like, I knew it was midnight, but I'm like, okay, is there going to be sunlight at any point in this movie? And when he said it, I'm like, yes, okay. It is part of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like being right.
Exactly. All right. So then we see, the doctor again, Kiefer Sutherland, Dr. Daniel Schreiber. And we go to so Emma Murdoch, who's the wife of Murdoch, she's I guess she's basically her job or whatever, again, in this universe, as we'll learn. What people do is kind of subjective. She's a singer at a nightclub. Again, very
like a nightclub singer. I mean, you can put Jennifer Connelly in the 40s and she looks like she does belong there. Like, she's been in a few movies where she's played someone from either this period or 50s or 60s, and she literally just blends right in. And
the Rocketeer comes to mind.
Oh, yep. Rocketeer, definitely. Just totally, if you snap a black and white photo of her doing a glamour shot, I'm like, yeah, she could be in a movie with Vivian Leigh. Yeah. I believe it. She's a time traveler.
Yeah, she's a time traveler. I mean, that's where she's from. She got here for God knows why.
Exactly.
She just wanted to go to the future. So then the doctor tells Emma that John is like, oh, he's had a psychotic breakdown. He's lost his memory. And if you ever see him again, tell him to call me, and blah, blah, blah. So then it's like, okay. The whole Dr. Schreiber character is very weird. I mean, I never trusted him.
Mm-hmm.
I never trusted him. He's just a little too weird.
It's also the mad scientist trope.
Yeah.
You know, don't trust the mad scientist because they're mad for a reason, and they usually are doing something that goes against God and nature. So. Yeah.
So like, you're kind of like, don't talk to this guy. Try to avoid this guy. He's a creepy dude.
You're a little too creepy. I mean, if you weren't if you were just like a tad not creepier, then I would probably take your word for it. But
yeah. What was the name of Frankenstein's his helper?
I'm pretty sure it was Igor. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Igor. It's kind of funny because Igor. I don't know if Igor is ever evil, but you know, you're still like. Well, doesn't Igor like he like digs up the bodies, right? Isn't that what he does? He's
there. He's not muscle. He's just a worker, I think. And Frankenstein was probably just like smoking a butt and just like, yeah, dig a little deeper. And you're literally telling a hunchback to like do all this hard manual labor. Not that he couldn't. He obviously could, but it's just kind of, I think, just like a set creepy piece. I've never read the book Frankenstein, so I don't know if he's even in the book, but. Is definitely like a character trope that people use now.
Yeah, he's definitely got that feel to him.
Yeah, why the hell is he so loyal to Frankenstein? Like, I never understood that relationship. Like, he's just shouting and yelling orders at you.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting one. It's puzzling. Poor Igor. Dig, Igor. Get the bodies. Like, what the fuck?
Like, you get the fucking bodies. I got a hunchback, you son of a bitch.
Igor, you have to get that psychopath who just died. Get his brain for me.
It's like, cool. I'm not qualified to cut a guy's brain out, but you need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hope you didn't need the brain stem.
So then we get this guy, Inspector Frank Bumstead. He's a bum. Anyway, so he gets assigned to this case where it's another dead prostitute in this hotel room. And then we learn that there's been 6 different prostitutes that have died recently. Oh yeah, by the way, then so the guy comes in and there's a different night auditor. It's this black guy instead of the guy we saw before.
Yep.
But he kind of talks the same way, which is funny. Like he talks exactly the same way.
It's basically the same person. It's the same character, just a different actor that night.
Yeah. It's
like a play. Like it's literally like a play. It's the understudy tonight.
Yeah, exactly. The understudy. He's come in for the night. Yeah, and so then we see Murdock, and he goes to some. I don't know what you would call that place. It's like a place where they have these little contraptions, these little like doors where you can like I guess pay to get stuff, food.
Very generic, like PB&J and a banana or something, or a bowl of soup. I forget, there is actually a term for that. It's something mat. Not like there's laundry mats and then there's something else. I know that there's a name for it. It's on the tip of my tongue, but that's one of the things that I like about this movie is that something designed it that doesn't understand human possibly evolution, and that it's stuck in this very generic time period of you can go to the cinema thing or the laundromat or the food mart or the food mat or something like that, and it's all just very generic, plain clothed boringness. Really, there's no color.
Yes,
just dark, and I always like someone's always gonna get mugged. I feel like it's like no matter what corner you turn, someone's gonna try and mug you.
Yeah, there's something. And again, this is another thing that in the Matrix, where the Matrix world that the computers build is super just like basic.
Mm-hmm. Very generic.
Just very generic. Yeah, everything's super generic. It's all the same, but everything's fine. You shouldn't question it. Don't think about how weird it is that you know, it feels like it's the 1940s and 50s mixed together, but you can't place the time period at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything is gray.
Gray, black and white.
Don't question why everything is gray and dark, and the buildings look weird.
Yeah. Don't question why you can bend spoons. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Keep moving.
Yeah, exactly. So then Murdoch, so like the guy at this, you know, food mart place, the Foodo Mart, the Foodomat. So he's like, oh yeah, I forgot your wallet. Here it is. You got to give me $1 to get your wallet. And he's like, I don't have any money. Give me my thing. And,
take $1 out of my wallet, you dick.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And then the guy goes away. But then Murdoch, he uses his abilities. He has some like telekinetic or something like that kind of ability. And he opens a little door. So this thing, it's like there's a bunch of little doors. And behind each door, you get, like you said, you get a PB&J and a banana. You get an apple. You get some milk and some cereal. You get some soup. And behind his door was his wallet, but he couldn't get it. So then he used his psychic powers, and the little door opened for him, and he took his wallet. And then,
something about this movie that I like is that it's very dreamlike. Like, the scenarios that he finds himself in are generally things that cause us anxiety in our dreams. Like, oh yeah, I have your wallet, but you got to get it behind this door. But the door might be scary. And you feel like you can't go through the door to get the thing that you need. And it's very dreamlike in that sense.
Yeah, it is. And especially like where you find yourself, the other dreamlike thing too is like you can't get out of these scenarios. It's almost like you know something bad. It's like, you know, again, the perfect example that I'm thinking of now is like which is another kind of neo-noir movie. I forget what that movie's called. I'm trying to think of it. It's not Mulholland Drive. Mulholland Drive is the movie I'm thinking of, where there's a scene where the guy, he's in this diner and they're just talking about stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I saw this creepy man, and he's right over there, and you know, you go up there and you pay, and then we go to see the creepy man behind the building." And they talk about this, and then all the things they talked about start happening. But the guy's like, basically the guy's saying, we're going to go and see this creepy dude, but I don't want to do that. But then it all happens anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, the scary thing is around the corner, but there's something in the world that's making you go look around the corner, even though you don't want to.
Yep.
And it does have that kind of feeling. It's like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to kill these people. I don't want all these things to happen to me, but I can't get out of it. I can't get away from it. And I have to keep going forward in order to get out. But by going forward, I get into these scary situations where I'm in this weird place and I can't get my wallet. I don't know who I am. Then I get my wallet by using psychic powers.
But then there's cops waiting for you by the door.
There's cops waiting for me. They hassle me. And this prostitute has to help me out of the situation.
Yep.
So, that was kind of interesting. So, the prostitute helps him out. Back at the crime scene, you know, again, they're talking about, there have been 6 prostitutes that got killed. They have the circular symbol carved into them. The inspector, he's like, what kind of a killer stops to save a dying fish? And exactly, yeah. And they have a fingerprint, and the fingerprint, basically looks like a maze. John's fingerprint.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all really like interesting. You know, it's like, what's going on? All these mysteries. So then we see John at this prostitute's house or wherever it is. Again, this is all very interesting. Like this whole scenario is interesting because like this is something that you never like saw in any of these movies at the time. I don't even know if they implied it. I mean, they might have. I feel like they implied it in the 30s more than the 40s.
Sex
in the
work?
30s, sort of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or anything like that. Or just like the woman who was like, would just sleep with anyone.
They implied it. They used different kind of like, oh, she's wearing red lipstick. She's wearing a very low cut dress with like a fur coat or something like that. When Elizabeth Taylor takes it off, you're just like, oh my God, cleavage. I feel like they implied what a woman did or didn't do based on like how they were dressing, who was playing them, and
who's playing them. Mm-hmm.
They can't outrightly say she's a prostitute, but maybe there's money next to the table or something.
Yeah, there's money next to the table.
Anybody could figure that out. I mean, the Hays Code didn't want to show sex, but they were fine with sex shaming everyone.
They absolutely were, which sucked. Yeah, that would be the scenario in the 40s. It's like the guy's putting on a shirt. He's like, buttoning up his shirt. There's money next to the counter, like the bedside table. There's money there. And he's like smoking a cigarette. She's smoking a cigarette. Like that's what you're gonna get.
And the promiscuous woman in most of these older films ends up dead or paralyzed or run out of town or shamed or killed in some way. And the demure, Donna Reed wins the Oscar and runs off into the sunset. Not dead or anything. Yeah,
not dead or maimed or fell down the stairs. That happened a lot. Like, oh, she fell down the stairs. Oh,
it's like everyone stop running downstairs. Like you won't die if you don't stop. Like Janet Leigh's character in Psycho. Thinks she's the main character, but she's promiscuous and she runs off and she gets murdered.
She's gonna die. Mm-hmm. And then her pure sister finds her.
And then her pure, kind sister finds her and figures everything out. Mm-hmm. And Elizabeth Taylor in Butterfield 8 drives off a cliff.
Yes, that was the other thing I was going to say. There's a lot of car accidents.
Lots of women. There's that stereotype. Women can't drive. I mean, look at all these movies of promiscuous women driving off of cliffs. Women are the worst. Yeah. That's a whole other rant entirely. Sorry.
I don't think this movie doesn't really have a femme fatale, right? Which is interesting.
I think you might be able to like argue that the prostitute is, but she's really just doing a job. Like she's got a kid to support. She lives in this shitty reality. I mean, this is who she's playing this day or this
exactly.
We don't know how long she's been playing this prostitute. We literally don't.
We don't. Yeah.
We don't. For who all we know, Jennifer Connelly could have been playing the prostitute 3 or 4 days ago.
And maybe that's how they met.
We just don't know at this point.
Yeah, we don't know.
But no, not really. And you have, I mean, Jennifer Connelly's definitely sexy in it, but she's just she's the wife who wants to figure out why her husband's not acting the way he is, which is, again, another very popular trope in a lot of these noir movies of like detectives who have a breakdown or they've been accused of a crime or they've gotten hooked by a femme fatale or something. You know, she's just a wife, you know, she just wants to know what's going on.
Yeah, and it's also like a lot of those where like the guy gets entrapped by some woman he falls in love with her, but she doesn't really love him, and she's like, yeah, go kill, I'm thinking Double Indemnity. Go kill my husband and we'll get the money. Nothing's gonna go wrong there.
Which also happened in real life in New Hampshire so that's something that happened. Thanks, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
But so that shit does happen in real life. It's
the Black Widow kind of stereotype, the woman who's like, do this for me. Yes, I love you. Mm-hmm. And then they kill the guy who does the thing,
Yeah, there was a remake of a Rudolph Valentino movie where he plays a bullfighter, and they redid it with, I think, Rita Hayworth, maybe Loretta Young, and Tyrone Power. And Rita Hayworth, of course, plays the vixen who lives in a villa who sees him fighting a bull, and she's just like, yeah, I want that. But he's married to sweet Loretta Young, who can do no wrong. I think it's Loretta Young. And then he gets trapped in her web of sin.
Oh, the 40s and these other, these stereotypes. Oh boy.
We want women to be sexy, but they can't be sexy.
Well, it's like we want them to be sexy, then we will punish them for wanting it. For us wanting it. And then them doing what we wanted.
Shame.
We'll punish them. Shame. Yeah, exactly. Shame. Ding, ding, ding.
Here's your A.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get an A.
Your
Scarlet letter.
Yeah, here's your scarlet letter, you tramp.
Yeah, you scarlet letter. Yeah.
Oh God.
Terrible.
But yes, Jennifer Connelly is beautiful and wonderful in this movie, and
yes.
she's trying to figure out what's up.
Yeah, this whole prostitute situation. So he goes with her. They're kind of hanging out. She's trying to get some money, and he's like, "Oh, well, you know, there's someone killing prostitutes. Aren't you afraid?" She's like, "Oh, you don't seem like the type."
Which is definitely something a serial killer would say. Just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, aren't you scared? And like, nah, you're probably a good guy. Like, I'm a pretty good judge of character.
Aren't you scared?
And, aren't you afraid? And I like that scene because she's only acting according to her programming to trust him, because potentially she was going to be another victim. And he's kind of wondering, am I capable of this? Like, I'm in the scenario. I'm in the exact same scenario I possibly was already in. And am I capable of doing this? And he's thinking about it. Like, he's weighing whether or not he has it in him to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think what kind of, I don't know if he was going to like kill her or whatever. I think that's what the aliens want. They want him to go to that dark place. But then he sees the daughter, and then he's like, what? Like, the daughter's like somewhere in the back hiding.
Mm-hmm.
And then so John just leaves. He just leaves. And because he has this postcard. He like sees this postcard. I forget what it is. There's some beach, some like shoreline beach or something like that. I forget what it's called.
Shell Beach.
Shell Beach, yeah. She's like, oh, I gotta go to Shell Beach.
That's another thing about, like, that's very dreamlike about it, is that sometimes you feel like at least with me, I always have like a destination that I like desperately need to get to, and I don't know why. And like, you just keep getting obstacles thrown at you. And then I usually end up in a forest chased by wolves. It sucks. I never get to my destination. Oh yeah, like I always end up wandering around a forest, and it's usually Lobos. Fine. And then I know I'm being stalked. Like, I know it. And I'm like, every time, like, I just want to get to this place. Like,
yeah, that's absolutely. That's I forget. There's a term for that, but like when there's something preventing you from like getting to where you want to go, or it makes you forget where the way to get to where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big kind of trope, and that happens a lot here because no one can remember how to get to the beach.
Nope,
no one can, and so there's a reason for that. They don't want you to know.
Whether they is creepy little people with their creepy little kids. We don't know if they're reproducing or if he's just like that, or like, ew. I don't want to know. Yeah. And some of the stuff with I forget what what were they called? The others, or they
called them the strangers, the aliens.
The strangers,
yeah.
It's very like Metropolis, like that movie.
Yes.
It's like with some of like the art and the set pieces, the big face. Like, I got some serious like Metropolis vibes from that, like the mad scientist thing, like creepy vibes. Like, it's just so off-putting. It's like, why does it need to be that way? This is their culture, and it's
exactly. Yeah, it's their weird culture,
and they can never really quite fit in with other humans. They don't walk like humans do. They don't have like they just do that little chattering thing, and it's I tried doing it too. I was like, ew.
yeah, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
So John, he's following this billboard. So he has a postcard. He finds a billboard that has the postcard kind of location on it. He gets up there. He like climbs up there for some reason, and then he's like looking in his pockets. He's like looking for something, and his pockets are full of like all these headlines about the murders and stuff.
Which is just like, great.
Yeah. And so then the strangers come for him, and this is basically we kind of see a little bit more what's going on. So they find him, and they're like, "Oh, go to sleep now," and he's like, "What?"
Like, get your freaking hand out.
Yeah, and then he starts using his powers to like basically kill him.
Mm-hmm. And they're pretty shook by that. They're like, "What?"
Yeah, we're untouchable in this world. Yeah, but then one of them like falls through like the I don't know
planking or
there's like a plank of where this billboard is. He falls
platform.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah, he falls through the platform. He like gets hung pretty much, like he's like being choked from a noose. Another guy pulls a knife on him, and then that guy gets knifed himself. Does not go well for the strangers. John is able to like fight him off, and then we see one of them die, and we see this parasite thing go out of his body, and it's just like
that
flies
was
away.
so gross. Mr. Hand or Mr. something. Yeah, they all have really weird names too.
Very weird. It's like Mr. Hand, Mr. Wall, Mr. Book,
Mr. Book,
Mr. Brook. Mr. Book. Very weird. Very, very weird aliens. So John escapes. He kills one of them. He escapes. Then we like go down to the bottom of the city or wherever they exist.
The bowels of the city.
Yeah, the bowel. Yeah, and they're having a meeting, and it's like you said. This is some really interesting stuff. Like the architecture. It's very creepy. Like I can just imagine having this nightmare, and then being like, oh, I have to make a movie out of that.
Oh God. I mean, sometimes really good movies are based on nightmares, and it's because our subconscious is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like I've had dreams where I wake up and I'm like, I feel like a bad person. Like what I just dreamed about, like I feel like a really bad person. But yeah, it was, if they were going for otherworldly, they nailed it.
Yeah, it's really creepy because what's so interesting too is like they're all kind of there, and it feels. I think the thing that feels so weird about it is like the architecture kind of reminds us of like how insects are or something like that.
It's a hive, yeah.
It's a hive, yeah, and it's like it's very different. It's like it's inhuman. Mm-hmm. It's uncanny. It's very weird.
You can't relate to it at all. It just makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, and so they're all like talking to each other, and then one of them's like, "He's able to tune."
Oh shit! Well, if I knew he was able to do that.
Yeah. So we'll learn later, but tuning is basically their psychic power for manipulating the world that they're in. And I guess basically only the aliens could do it before, but now the strangers. But now John Murdock can do it, and that's dangerous. Yeah,
and they've kind of touched on that maybe other people have done it before, but it hasn't been extreme. Like John's is like the final stage and evolution of humans being able to do it.
Yeah, he's like the bridge between the strangers and humans, which makes him very valuable. So then they're like, we must have this man, and they send out people. They're like, you go north, south, east, west, go find him. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Shut it down.
Yeah. So then John goes to find his wife, and she's like, they're talking. It's like, why did you hate me because I had an affair? Were you angry at me? Blah blah blah. They're talking, and again, it's this is something that came up at like the first time. Emma, his wife, John's wife, met with the inspector. He was like, oh, because he's like, oh, we've been married for 4 years, but he's like, oh, it seems like you don't like wearing your ring. It's like it's sort of uncomfortable.
It's like you haven't been wearing it for that long.
Yeah.
Probably because she hasn't.
Because she was the prostitute in the last.
And probably who knows
or something. Yeah, or whatever. So they're talking, blah blah blah, all this stuff about their past. The inspector was waiting for them. He tried to arrest John, but Emma kind of helps him. Which I guess kind of like she's probably not the femme fatale in this.
No,
because the femme fatale. I don't know if the femme fatale really helps. I don't know if there's another like trope for like the good. You know what I'm saying? Like the good woman or whatever.
I think it's probably just called the good woman or the wife. Yeah. Because the wife isn't usually the one having the affair, or because it's the slut who's having the affair. It's not Donna Reed. Donna Reed doesn't do that. You get me Elizabeth Taylor, and I will slut shame the shit out of her. Okay. I hope people realize I'm being totally sarcastic. I think it's probably just a wife character. I can't really think of who else.
What comes to my mind is like, so in Sunset Boulevard, like the main character, he becomes friends with this other writer who's a woman, and she's kind of like the good side, but they do not get together.
No. He probably could have made a couple of life choices.
Yeah. There's a number of choices that he should have made that could have led to him not dying, but that's Hollywood for you.
That's Hollywood, baby.
Yeah. You end up dead in a pool. So yeah, John gets away, and then John uses his powers again to like create a door where there isn't a door. It creates a door. I have a hard time like not thinking about this movie and The Matrix like together.
I know.
They're especially with, similar.
Especially the opening scene with the phone ringing. You know what I mean? Like that reminds me of like, oh, Trinity's waiting for that phone call. Here we go.
In a very weird noirish kind of world.
But she's wearing a one-piece leather jumpsuit, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And then these black-suited weird guys show up, and everyone else is like, "The fuck are these guys doing here?"
Your men are already dead.
Yeah, they're already dead. Oh my god! I love that.
He's not wrong. So.
Yeah.
Wait, so does that mean she just killed a bunch of people who were just plugged in?
Oh yeah. Absolutely, yes. She killed. But like the way that they see it is like every person could be jacked into by the agents. So and that's kind of the thing, Neo. There's like that they put him in the training program with the woman in red. I mean, again, Neo's not paying attention, and probably neither is the audience. But basically, what he's saying is like, a lot of people aren't ready to get out of the Matrix, and they're a part of the system. And he literally says that, like Morpheus says, they are part of the system. The system is our enemy, and we're trying to fight the system so that we can take it down. But everyone who's in the system can be taken over by the agents, so they're our enemy too.
Yeah.
So they're like, we gotta kill him. Sorry, hate to do it,
but I'm gonna snap your neck anyway.
I gotta snap your neck because you're gonna turn into a dude who's gonna kill me, a superhuman dude.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that they could like the agents could tap into that. Oh yeah, that's why their face gets all fucked up and they're like, ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty. Oh man, that sucks for everybody else though, man. They're just sheep. It sucks.
It does suck because like because you can't really kill an agent because they're a program. So like even if you kill the agent, the person that they took over dies, not the agent. The agent program goes into another. It just goes into the Matrix and then it goes into another person.
Yeah, and that's also what makes like the agents programs even worse because they're like, yeah, you're not actually going to kill me, but I'm going to make you kill somebody else because I just took over their body.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh, creepy shit.
Yeah. Agents suck. They're evil. So fortunately the aliens in this, the strangers can't do that. They can't actually take people over. Now they can brainwash you. They can make you believe that you were a prostitute or you were an actor, or they can actually make you rich. They can make you rich, change your whole life, make you rich or whatever. But they can't take you over. So let me see. So then, so John uses his powers. Then he gets in a taxi and he wants to like meet with the doctor. So he's like going to see the doctor. He asks the cab driver, like, "Hey, how do you get to Shell Beach?" It's like, "Oh, you take a left and then."
Everybody kind of just
took yeah. No one knows how to actually do it.
Nope.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So yeah, he goes to meet the doctor. The doctor is at this pool. Again, this is another one of these like 1940s, 50s things. They had these pools like this, these like public pools, which Do they still exist like this in New York, or have they changed? I wonder.
If they still exist, it's probably a building that's really, really old that people have been like keeping up just for the aesthetic or for nostalgia. I haven't been to many public pools, but the few that I have do not look like this. They're not an oval shape, and there's not porcelain and marble everywhere. It's usually just a bunch of old dudes floating around, and it's why I don't like going to public pools. Also, they're gross.
Yeah,
they're not Art Deco anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a new form of generic.
This is another. Yeah, it's another cool. I saw this in a recent. Well, it's a recent movie that was like a 50s movie, about New York, and they had a pool that was very similar to this. So I think it is like a kind of New York 30s, like basically it's Art Deco style stuff. That's from the 30s, but it's kind of 30s or 40s, but stuck around until, mid-century or whatever.
Yeah, because like new luxury was like a big thing. Like the rich wanted a new way to relax, like people going to spas in like Switzerland or Austria and stuff like that. Like, what do they call it? I think was it taking the waters or something? There was a phrase for it. Like, he's taking the waters in May. My goodness. It was probably like just some snobby thing.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So yeah, the doctor, he's like at this pool, and it's like, oh, the creatures don't like moisture. And he's just talking with one of these, strangers. And they're, it's a bunch of kind of exposition and stuff like that. Talk about these memory injections. They're after John basically, and they're kind of like this one. What's the name of that one stranger? It's like Mr. Hand or something like that. It's the one who's really.
I think it's Mr. Hand or Mr. Sleep, but no, I don't think it's Mr. Sleep.
One of them is like he's really after him.
Yeah, he wants to have like a true human experience because he thinks that being a serial killer is the true human experience. So that says a lot about him. Yeah.
They seem to not really understand humans.
They don't. Like, out of most aliens who are trying to study humans, like these ones have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, they have no idea what they're doing, and they're going about it totally the wrong way.
Ass backwards, as my mother would say.
Yeah, exactly. So the inspector, he goes off on another subplot where he meets this guy who's crazy. He's crazy. Totally. He was like a former, I think he was a former detective. He's like, oh, this world's totally insane. And there's aliens that are controlling us. And, every day I'm a different person and I wake up in a different world. It's like, oh, this dude's nuts.
Yeah, and like Bum said at one point, it's just like, dude, your wife is pretty worried about you. And he's just like, she's not my wife.
I love that.
Like, I don't care. Like, she's not my wife. I don't give a shit. And,
that was so funny.
I don't think. So I had a theory about this guy because at one point, Mr. Hand, whatever the main villain's name is, he wants to get plugged in at one point, and he wants to be injected with human memories. But they're like, oh no, we did that once, and it didn't work out very well. And my theory was, I wonder if that detective was the stranger who got injected with human memories, and now he's gone batshit crazy. Or he's just.
Then they tried to plug him back into the Matrix, and that didn't work.
And it didn't work. It just scrambled his brains.
Yeah, because he can't forget. He can't forget, which explains why he has all this knowledge and everything like that. Or it's just showing us this is the route that John could go down if he goes totally crazy. Because I don't think Bumstead's former partner or friend could tune. I think he's just he's woke, basically. He's aware. Exactly. Yeah.
Woke.
He's taken the red pill.
Yeah, he's taken the red pill and he's gone off the deep end, and everyone thinks he's crazy, even though he's probably the most sane person in the movie because he does know what's going on.
Yeah. It's like if you take the red pill, but you like the program that gets you out of the Matrix fucks up, so you're stuck in the Matrix.
Yeah.
So that's him. So he's like, he can see the code. He's like, dude, this is a freaking computer program. Like that's a program. That bird is a program. That's a program.
Yeah, none of it's real.
And everyone's like, this dude's nuts.
This guy's batty, but that's like the first like door that opens for Bumstead is that, well, I don't
Yeah.
think you're right, but I'm gonna look into it. But I don't think you're right. The seed of doubt has been planted.
The seed has been planted, and there's a lot of interesting stuff too, because like he's all into all this stuff, like all the spirals and stuff, like all their symbolism, and like the mazes. That's something that we saw earlier on. The doctor, when he saw Emma, he was like, put a rat in a maze.
Yep.
There's all this kind of stuff. It's like, what are you putting this rat in the maze? Oh, it's a very interesting experiment.
So it doesn't look fun for the rat. So.
Yeah. I mean, basically, we're the rats.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So then, the chittering stranger's like, shut it down. It's like midnight.
And that face opens up. It's just so cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. So yeah, at midnight, everyone falls asleep. Everything stops. John is like watching it, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? Wake up. What are you doing? And then they're like, let the tuning commence. And you see the whole world just like change. The buildings change shape. Everything becomes totally different. They go around injecting people with new memories. We see this couple who were like, I guess they were like working class or something, and then they become super rich.
Yeah.
And they inject them with like hoity-toity rich people personalities.
Oh, I need my smelling salts and my divan and my silk dresses and my mink coats.
So yesterday, Igor, he refused to dig up the body. I'm
gonna have to get a new hunchback because he is not fulfilling his end of the bargain. Like, he gets creeped out when I ask him to bring me a hand. Like,
yeah.
He's so snobby.
Yeah. My father had so much better servants in his time. What's happened to the world is disgusting. I can't even find a good hunchback anymore.
They're asking for rights now. Like, what the hell? They're asking for a living wage. Can you believe these people?
You won't believe it. Igor, he asked for $1 an hour. It's like, what do you think this is?
My butler doesn't want to buttle anymore. Okay, yeah. I've been trying to find a new butler for like 6 months. It's really bringing me down.
Yeah, so funny.
Rich people are the worst.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. So I think the strangers they start talking again, and they're like, basically what they're trying to do is they need to find John and imprint his memories into one of them. I guess they believe that that's going to, I don't know, it's going to change their species or perfect their species or give them more insight. I think basically what's going on is like they're probably going extinct or something.
I think that's the impression I got, is that they're going extinct for whatever reason. Maybe they can't evolve anymore, and it's just like the stopping point. And because they're after like the human soul, they keep talking about like, what is a soul? How do I get one? Yeah, basically. Can I go to the store? Can I go to the soul store?
Yeah, can I buy one?
Do I need a Kia soul?
Yeah.
So they're kind of after like what makes humans so special, what makes them so different, and maybe if we have that, maybe if we obtain that, it will give our species another chance, like another million years maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what they seem to be kind of after. What makes them so different? Well, first of all, they don't think that serial killers are the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, anyway, so but one of the interesting things we learn here is like that basically they work as a hive mind. So they're all interconnected. Oh yeah, and then whoever, I guess it's Mr. Hand or whatever, puts some of John's memories into his mind, and so that he can better find him.
So he can know him.
Yeah, know him and find him. And then so he takes the memories like, oh, I have John Murdoch in mind. All this stuff is really funny. So then John, he's out one night and he sees the night auditor guy is now a newspaper man working at a newsstand.
A nickel for the news.
Yeah. And this is really funny. He asks him, so how long have you been working at a newsstand, 25 years. Okay. And then, yeah. And he says 25 years and no days off for good behavior, which is the thing that he said to John at the beginning. He's like, you know, you pay your rent on time, but you don't get any days off for good behavior. So I got to kick you out. So yeah, that's funny. There is something kind of like scary about that, you know? Like, could you imagine like if you were working at your job, like a job that you hated, and you left that job, but then you didn't know it, but you wound up back at that job or something, you know? But you never remembered that you tried to leave or that you went to you had a better thing, you know what I'm saying? Like you get stuck in this thing, but you don't know anything else because something's been put into your head that
you just don't know any better. Yeah. I felt like that for a long time, actually.
Yeah.
So I get that. I definitely get that analogy. No, it is because I still, after when you work at a job for a decade and you go somewhere else, even though in September, I'll have worked at my new job for a year, I still wake up sometimes and have almost this dread that I have to go back to my former job. Yeah. And I think eventually I will get over it. I think it's just because I've been imprinted to know that I gotta go to Panera today and I have to hate my life for 12 hours and hate humanity.
Yeah, I have to deal with people. I have to
Yeah, people are the worst. Trust me, they are the worst. But I know that I don't have to, but it is like sometimes I get into my head a little bit. I'm like, because some people have what's called face blindness. Like Ryan doesn't remember what some people look like, even if he's met them a couple times. It takes him like at least 3 or 4 times to meet a person before he remembers what they look like.
Yeah.
So sometimes I wonder, like, what if I came in and my coworker Kitty didn't look how I know that she does? So it's like the newspaper guy was the night auditor, or the night auditor was now the newspaper guy, and it's like, what if it was not what if my brain just decides to like, oh no, that's not what they look like at all. That's just how you're perceiving them to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's creepy, and I know that won't happen, but I don't know. Sometimes I get into my head a little bit about things like that. I'm like, what if this is a simulation? It's not, but or is it?
Or is it? Yeah. Or is it? Interesting stuff. Yeah, and this is another one of these things where it's just like, what's real, what's not? How do you know? How do you know what your memories are or what they're not? You know?
Exactly. Well, the memory is a highly unreliable thing. It's extremely unreliable. There was like this study once where they were like, they had a whole bunch of people and they were like, okay, tell me about your childhood. And they got like their profiles basically. And then they were like, scientists implanted memories of like, oh, well, don't you remember? Like you told me that one time about that story of the monster in your closet. And people are like, oh my God, yes, I did. And they believed that they weren't lying. They genuinely believed that they had told someone a story about a monster in their closet and they created a memory around it. Like, that's creepy. That's scary.
That is super creepy. Yeah, that's super creepy because then you can just start making stuff up or erasing things. Tell everyone, oh, that, you know, it would be like if someone said, you never worked at Panera Bread. You never worked there. I
just lost 10 years. What was I doing then? You know what I mean? Like that's a decade of my life that I do remember. Obviously, I don't remember each and every single day, but that would freak me the hell out. I'd be like, was I in an asylum?
Or like they'd say, oh, it wasn't Panera Bread. It was like Panada Bread or something. Or you know, they changed the name, they changed the logo. Like Panera Bread doesn't. That's like the Mandela effect kind of. Panera Bread doesn't exist.
It's Panero's.
Yeah, it's Panero's, and then like you meet your ex coworker, and they're like, "Oh, it wasn't Panera Bread, it was Panero Bread or what, you know." And then you're just like, "No, it was Panera." Like, am I fucking crazy? You know?
That happened with there's a mall down the road, and it's always called the. I don't want to necessarily give the name away because I don't like people knowing where I am. But it was the Panda Bread, the Panda Mall. No, it's the mall on Panda Road.
Mm.
It's like, no, it's the Panda Mall. No, it's the mall on Panda Road.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's never been what I've called it. Why would I call it that? You know what I mean? When it's always had this one name, and it was on everything. Like, it was on its sign, which is a really old sign because it's an old mall. It was on like the signs on the road. And I was just like, one day I was like, am I the one that's crazy? Or did my mind just not know what the road was called and just called it that same thing? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Because other people called it by, like, I guess the nickname or the short name, right?
Exactly. So maybe I heard it when I was little, and that's just always been what I called it. And then someone's like, no, it's not. That's not what it's called at all. And I was like,
yeah, you're right. I mean, it's crazy because, like you said, the memory is not. It's a flimsy thing. It's a very flimsy thing. And we kind of get that into this with this film we'll see later on. He like sees stuff about his past, but is it real? Is it actually real?
Yeah,
did he actually do that stuff?
Yeah, that's another thing that you question by the end of the movie too. Is just like, was that actually him? Are we ever actually going to know who these people really were? Because they still don't know.
They don't. They don't at all. It's crazy, and it's like things have been erased so many times. No one knows what there was before.
No, it's a crisis.
Yeah. It's
like a crisis that these people are going to go through.
Yeah, it's crazy. So then John, so basically John's like, okay, I'm going to find my way to the beach. So he sees, okay, he's on the subway and he sees, okay, if you take this line, you can get to the beach. So he swaps lines and then he's on the bus, he gets on the train. So then he gets to the station where the other, basically where the train that would take him to the beach is. He gets there, but the train doesn't stop.
No.
Train just doesn't stop. And he's like, what's going on? And then
you got to take the blue line.
Yeah.
Or no, you got to take the red line. And you got to take the green line. And it just keeps changing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, you got to take the green to the red to the blue. And then when you're on the blue, you swap over back to the red. And then you got to wait.
It's like, it shouldn't be this complicated.
Yeah, exactly. And the guy's like, oh, it's the express line. It doesn't stop. He's like, what? This is crazy.
Yeah.
And then he meets Walensky, and Walensky's like, he tells him about taking the red pill, basically. It's like, oh yeah, it's he's like, oh, I was trying to get out of the city. You can't. It's impossible. They'll never let you out. Blah blah blah. This and that. They swap our memories. He tells them, oh yeah, they swap our memories, and every day we're a different thing. One day I was a detective, the other day I was a rich guy, the next day I was a poor guy. Yeah, and then he's like, oh, but I figured it out. I know how to get out of here. The fucking train comes and he jumps in front of the train.
I know. And for a split second, John's like, oh, cool, take me with you. And he's like, hi.
Come on if you want to.
No. And it's obviously really morbid and shocking because of like how he when he jumps in front of the train, but he's like, the message is, this is the only way out.
Yeah.
This is it. Like.
Yeah. I mean, it's also crazy too, because again, think about this. This is a 1940s, 50s setting.
Mm-hmm.
People were not jumping in front of trains.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe there was the occasional one. I mean, even nowadays, it's when you hear someone's been hit by a subway or by a train, it's very shocking. Generally, it's a really tragic accident, or it was on purpose. I actually, like 4 years ago I think in Boston, there was a girl who slipped and fell in front of a train, and she didn't die, but she does not have legs anymore. And it was like, again, it's like one of these like it shouldn't happen, but subways get really crowded and it's a little scary. Like you do not want to be standing too close to the platform. Like I almost got shoved down by a little old Chinese lady with like she had like her cart with her with like her purse and all of her stuff. Like she was on a mission. She takes this train every day. She knows the route, and she nearly shoved me down because she was like, you need to get out of my way. Like I know where I'm going and I need to get there. It was scary.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, she like pushed you with the cart.
Yeah, she was like, and I was like, I'm sorry, it's my first time in New York.
Yeah. New Yorkers can be a little aggressive.
Well, again, it's that routine of like they know where they're going, they know where they have to be, they know when the train is coming, they probably see the same faces taking it and commuting every day, and I was in the way.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know you. Get out of my way.
You're not normal here. What are you doing here?
Yeah. You're not part of this sim cycle.
You're not part of the rotation.
Yeah, you're not part of this rotation. Do they add you?
I know, right? Like, I was the John Murdoch in that scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank God I was with other people. I wasn't alone.
Yeah. But. Okay, so then John, he goes to meet with his uncle. And the uncle has like these basically a bunch of photos of him like as a kid or whatever. Supposedly.
It could be a different kid.
Yeah, it could be anything, really. And some of the pictures of him at Shell Beach. And they said his parents died when his house burned down. There's just a bunch of other stuff, but I guess he had some flip book. He like created a flip book of the beach. Mm-hmm. But like none of it adds up. None of it really adds up. It's like half of this, half of that, but like nothing actually. There's no concrete memory.
Yeah, there's no. It's all kind of half truths.
Yeah.
Like the glass is always kind of half full. It's not. He never quite gets to the top. Yeah. I think he was hoping something would jog his memory, and he would get there and maybe be like, "Oh," and have like an aha moment or something. But
but yeah, he's sort of instead. It's like there's nothing here. Like that's the aha moment. Like this is all fake. Mm-hmm. This is all some fake kind of stuff. So yeah, then basically the strangers like they're looking for John, so they find the prostitute that he was talking to, and then whatever the Mr. Hand or whatever kills her. And Mr. Hand is the one who's killing all these prostitutes, pretty much. Which, yeah, I mean, that is sick, right? Like, these freaking aliens are just like... It's the alien that wants to kill the prostitutes.
Yeah, it's the alien who wants to kill the prostitutes. It's the one who wants to cause pain and to feel what it's like to cause pain and not even just, like, hurting someone's feelings. Like, he gets off on actually killing people. And... yeah, it's really morbid, and he's super creepy, and I don't like him. I just don't like him. Again, it's one of those, it's like kind of like when you meet a person and you immediately know that, like, yeah, I don't want to be around you. There's something that's giving me, like,
bad vibes.
Creep vibes, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, so then, of course, the inspector, he shows up. The little girl, so it's the inspector and Emma, and then Emma sees a little girl she was hiding while the murders happened, and she like made a little drawing of the three strangers there. It's just like it's kind of weird that some of these things just don't add up, right? It's like you would think.
Yeah, it's also weird that he's just letting her tag along when he goes to a murder scene or something, or well, maybe they didn't know it was going to be a murder, but like he's just letting her tag along in the investigation because I get the impression that he was kind of into her. Like he sees her singing and he's the detective. Maybe, yeah, they might have been, who knows? Like they might have been married at some point, or maybe she wasn't married to John, but she was still like the club singer or whatever, because there's always that like noir theme with like the detective and the girl, and maybe they don't end up together, but there's like an attraction because of like his dangerous job, and she knows something about the investigation, and there's definitely like a thing going on that maybe more one-sided than mutual, because she really does want to find John.
She does want to be with John, and yeah, he kind of wants to be with her, probably because of something in their past. Or maybe the aliens, you just imagine that, like the alien, like imagine if the aliens imprinted something in his head, right? Like a memory that was related to her. And it just drove him to do this stuff, to be obsessed with her.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, there's so many different places you can go with how manipulated your reality is.
There's so many what ifs. Like, what if they have imprinted the detective to be attracted to Jennifer Connelly's character? Or is it their real personalities finally coming out?
Yeah.
That make them drawn to one another, or him drawn to her, and him being compelled to help John, or there's so many what ifs. because their brains have been continuously scrambled over and over and over again.
Yeah, totally. So then the strangers, they figure out, oh, Murdoch's at his uncle's house. They go to the uncle's house. There's another fight, basically. And then, so John kind of confronts, whatever his name is, Mr. Hand. And so Mr. Hand is like kind of talking a little bit about why they're doing what they're doing. It's like, oh, we need to learn about you so we can get your soul or whatever. And then again, there's another fight. They start changing the world, but it's kind of becoming dangerous. Like they're starting to like they're getting in danger of like being killed by one building slamming into another. You get this really interesting, very, again, it's all very dreamlike, where like he opens a door, the door leads to nothing. He falls out of the door, and he's about to, but there's another building about to kill him, pretty much. The little kid comes. The kid pulls out a knife, but instead of using the knife, the kid bites his hand.
Yeah, that's what I mean about the biting. It's like, why do they need them to bite? It's like, it's so much creepier than the knife.
Yeah, it is. It's so weird. But then John somehow gets away.
I think he goes in through a window or something, yeah.
He does. He like goes through a window and he gets out the back door. And then John gets saved by the detective and Emma. And then they drive off. It's like, damn, missed him again. Or whatever.
Those pesky kids.
Yeah. So then John gets interrogated by the inspector or detective or whatever. And then, he's just like asking him all these questions. And he's like, well, how about you, Inspector? Do you remember anything? Do you remember anything that happened the day before?
When was the last time you saw daylight?
Yeah. When was the last time you saw the sun? Like, when was the last time it wasn't night? He's like, well, it was, and yeah, he even asked him, like, I think he asked him, like, how to get to Shell Beach.
Yeah, he's like, of course I know how to get to Shell Beach.
You take a right, and then you take another right, and you take another, and then you go another right, and then you keep going right. And it's like, no one remembers, no one knows anything, nothing makes sense. And then he uses his power to levitate the notebook. It's like, well, explain this. Anyway, so and then we get this interesting scene between John and Emma where like basically John kind of knows like it's interesting because John is like in love with her, but he knows like the love is something put in his brain.
Yeah, it's not real.
It's not real. But she thinks it's real. And I guess the bigger thing about this film was like, does the human soul drive people to do certain things, and it's like, does their love transcend the memory, right?
Yeah. Could it be real? Could we make it real? Kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Does love make it real? And then John, he like uses his power to like kiss her. It's like this interesting moment. Like they're stuck between this glass, and he like breaks the glass with his powers.
and the cops or the security guards just don't think it's weird. They're just like, okay, time to go. They just take him away. Like he didn't just break a plexiglass shield that's separating him and his woman, and they're just like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's funny.
Totally normal.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, then John's, at the police station, they put him in a jail cell. The strangers come to the police station. They put a bunch of people to sleep. They go to his cell. John's gone. They kill the police chief. So then the inspector and John and the detective, they all end up together. And they're going to go to Shell Beach. And they have to take a boat. That's another very interesting scene. Like the way, yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool, but it's also very kind of strange. Like when they get in that boat and it's like they're ferrying in this like, I don't know. It's almost like you see those gondolas in Italy kind of deal. because
And
it's
the
like,
water's all black and everything's murky, and they're always kind of looking over their shoulder, like something could happen. What if they do we have until midnight? Like time is a huge factor because so far John's the only one who can stay awake during it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's very creepy.
Yeah, it's very creepy. And then the doctor kind of tells us more. He basically says, first there was darkness, then came the strangers. They abducted us. They brought us here, trying to divine what makes us unique. They're trying to understand the human soul. So man, could you imagine just like, okay, here's the fucked up thing. So like, imagine you got abducted and then something took you somewhere and you didn't remember where or why, but you worked at Panera Cakes.
Why?
I'm saying that's basically what they did to these people.
Basically, yeah.
They took them and they made this place and they just did whatever they wanted with them.
Yeah, rats in a maze. Let's see how they scatter. Let's see how they react to all of these different little scenarios. So maybe, just maybe, guys, imagine being an alien race that wants to take on the project of understanding the human spirit or the human of what makes us human. Like that's a huge freaking undertaking because we don't even get it.
Exactly.
We can't tell you. Like, what the hell? Like that's what philosophers have been asking for thousands of years.
Yeah, exactly. We have no idea. No idea at all.
We don't know.
But they kind of go about it in a weird way, for sure.
Yeah.
So then the trio, they get to this like door. It's like this really weird, random kind of door in the middle of nowhere, right? It's not very properly situated. So they get to the door, they open this door, and then they see behind it is just a poster. It's just a billboard for Shell Beach. It's like, womp womp, no beach here. And they're like, no, there must be something here. So they rip the poster and there's a wall. They break through the wall. And outside of the wall, now you really get to take the red pill. Now you really get to see the Matrix. Outside of the wall is just space. It's just space. There's nothing. And so then we get this whole thing. So this is really cool. So the inspector falls out of, he basically dies. He gets thrown into space.
Yeah, there's like a scuffle and like he's trying to like protect them and everything like that. And yeah, poor William Hurt gets sucked out into space.
Yeah, he gets sucked into space.
I was pretty bummed about that. I was disappointed. I liked his character. I always kind of like the detective characters.
Yeah.
And I like William Hurt, so I was pretty bummed about that. But I was
it sucked. Okay, but here's the crazy thing. So we see this whole thing, and it's basically a plane out in the cosmos. And you see like it's sort of. By the way, okay, they like here's another fucking crazy red pill for you. They live on a flat Earth. By the way,
flat Earth.
It's literally a flat Earth. That would have been so like okay, that would have been going too far. But like if the crazy guy was like, the Earth is flat.
Or maybe he wouldn't even have to have said like the Earth is flat, like verbatim. He could just have alluded to it, and flat Earthers would have been like, "Yeah, that's what we've been saying. This is what we're on." It's like, no, you're stupid.
No, you're stupid.
It's, you even proved yourselves wrong in a documentary.
Yeah, exactly. They're so dumb. But this is crazy because like it's legitimately they live on a flat plane.
Yeah, they live on a flat surface, and everything is just. That's why there's no water. There's no there's only horizon, but you can't, there's so many buildings, you can't even like see past it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I feel like you don't even really see a night sky though either. Maybe they look up at the sky at some point, but I really don't remember seeing any like stars or anything. So they're probably like shielding that from them too.
Yeah.
Because what if they pass by a planet or something? Or are they in orbit too? Are they just traveling consistently? Or yeah, it's really weird. Like, is this the mothership or is it just? Are there more of these?
There might be. That's a good point because, like, you see at the bottom, so it's this flat thing where they've created the cityscape that they can manipulate, and then their building where they exist in their hive is at the bottom, and it's a different kind of thing. as it were. You know, it's a different structure than the rest of what they've created. And that thing is like what creates the city.
Yeah.
And they've kind of angled it, so it's like the reason why there's never a day is like they've angled it so that it's opposite of some star, so they're always in the dark.
Well, and I think like the strangers don't like sunlight either. I think that's implied or said, something like that.
Yeah, they don't like sunlight. Yeah, that's totally right. Yeah, so it's really interesting. That was a really cool scene, but unfortunately, seeing William Hurt get sucked into the
void. Yeah.
Yeah, the void.
Somebody gotta go.
Yeah. So then, you know, Murdock surrenders so that they don't kill Emma. Yeah. So basically, so then they take him into the hive at the bottom of the thing, and they're like, "Oh, we have to kill him." Yeah, and they're like, "No, no, he has a exactly." Let's fight him to death. No, he has a soul. We have to take his soul or whatever. He can give us a soul. So then they're like, "Oh, we have to become one with John Murdoch." So then the doctor is supposed to, and this is something that happened like earlier. The doctor was like, "Oh, if you take this injection, oh, trust me, take this injection that I give you, and then everything will be fine." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm not going to do that, dude.
I don't trust you, Igor."
Yeah, I don't trust you, Igor. Exactly. And so, but then the doctor swaps the thing. So he's supposed to give John all the memories of the Hive Mind, but instead he gives John this very interesting it's not a memory, it's more like a
tutorial.
Yeah. It's an exposition dump or something. It's like
here's my PowerPoint. Here's a little laser pointer.
Exactly. Could you imagine like if you could just learn stuff like that where you just like kind of inject math into your brain?
I thought that's what my COVID shot was. I'm not gonna get that. This is the first I'm hearing of this.
Well, yeah, I mean,
maybe the second dose.
When you get the second dose, you'll get all it'll be like, okay, here's what you have to do, Lily. You have to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. This is how you're going to take over the world. It's going to tell you. You're
going to keep working your job until you retire. That's what I want them to say. Your 401k is going to get a really nice boost this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he like, yeah, he basically shows him the Matrix. And
how to defeat them. I think something like that too.
Yes, it's it. So yeah, basically how to control his powers, pretty much better. And so then John is like, you know, he's become the one.
He's Neo.
Yeah, he's Neo. And so then he starts doing stuff using his powers, fighting them off, and then he fights like, I guess I forget what that stranger was called. Like the main one?
Yeah, he's like the Grandmaster.
Mr. Book. I believe that was Mr.
Yeah,
Book.
He's like the head honcho.
Yeah, Mr. Book and him, they get into a psychic battle, basically. Very much like Scanners.
Yes,
kind of
very much, yeah.
And so they're fighting and like
making little faces at each other.
Yeah.
Imagine doing that. Imagine you're an actor and all you have is the director telling, okay, I need you to look like you're fighting him, but you're not physically fighting him. And you don't have any of the musical score to go by. Like the special effects will be added in post. And you're being strung up on wires. Action.
Yeah, in front of you're in a green room on some wires.
And you're in a green room. This guy's in ridiculous makeup.
Yeah.
I need you to think about your journey. Think about your journey.
Yeah.
Like, acting with just your face has got to be just a bitch. Like
it's hard. That's why you get paid the big bucks. You gotta sell it.
Yep, you gotta sell it. I need you to be a little bit Brad Pitt, not a lot of George Clooney, but the fierceness of Johnny Depp.
That's funny.
Go.
Yeah, exactly.
Be a star, kid.
Yeah.
Your marquees are gonna have you sign.
Yeah.
Your name.
That's so funny. Yeah, and they get into this fight and they're flying around and stuff. They're flying around the city. They're like throwing knives at each other and stuff.
Throwing buildings sometimes. Like John's totally messed up their house, like or their little cave thing. And yeah, it was a good psychic battle as far as psychic battles go. You know, there's no dialogue during it too, which I think is like they're saying everything they need to say, which I like.
Yeah, it was very cool. So then John, he kills him. with like a knife. Like the guy throws a knife at him, and he's like trying to psychically stab him with it, but he's not powerful enough. He's like, ah! And then John stabs him, and he dies. And that's it. Now he's the most powerful being in this flat Earth place.
Yep.
So then, there's some more stuff. He's like, basically he can't bring Emma back. That's the one thing he can't do. And so then it's like, oh, that kind of sucks. But John decides to like change Dark City completely. He like creates an ocean. He then makes the city, he creates Shell Beach pretty much. Which never existed, which is kind of like, it's kind of interesting. It never existed in the first place, but then he creates this thing that didn't exist. That's a memory from who knows where. And then, like, at the end, he's sort of confronted by, I think it's Mr.
Hand, right?
Hand. Yeah, Mr. Hand, yeah. It's confronted at the end. And it's like, you will never understand us, blah, blah, blah. And then he, like, turns the flat Earth so that they're in the sun. And then Mr. Hand, like, he dies.
I'm dying, John. Help me. I tried killing you and your woman, and I totally messed up your life, but I'm help me. And he's just like, no.
No.
Burn, bitch.
Yeah, you need to die. You are a scumbag person. And so then he like goes on the pier, and Emma's there. So they have this little discussion. They just like have a talk. It's like one of those,
feel good moments.
Yeah, it's also like, is true love real, right? It's like, are they gonna fall in love? And he's like, oh, where's Shell Beach? She's like, oh, it's over there. It's like, I'm headed there myself. You want to come with me? It's like, yeah. And then they go off together, and we're left to I guess think if they're gonna fall in love again. Love conquers all. This movie's been compared to Brazil as well, which is another, love conquers all was like the whole point of that movie. I guess. So cool. Yeah. So what do you think watching it again this time and watching the director's cut?
Oh, I really liked it. I related to it in some ways, especially with like the nightmare or dream kind of moments where it's like, yeah, that totally happens in my dreams. Or just like, I feel like a lot of movies nowadays, like not think pieces, but like mind bendy stuff are trying to do something similar. But yeah, I liked it, like, is our reality our own? Does love transcend brainwashing and all that other stuff? No, it was really good. It's I wouldn't say it's necessarily a fun movie because the themes are generally pretty dark, but it makes you think, and it's an interesting movie to watch, and I would probably watch it again in another 5 years. I'm not ready to like throw it on again, but it's fun. It's interesting to revisit it.
Yeah, it's really cool. And, the way that it really blends the genres is so interesting. Like, it's a mystery film. It's a noir film. It's sort of a fantasy sci-fi film. The way that all the stuff with the architecture. It's also really cool.
It's also kind of got some like Total Recall moments kind of going on with like, no, I'm really your wife. No, you're really a secret agent and stuff like that. Or, that scene when Arnold Schwarzenegger leaves the message for himself from the past. And it's got some of those like kind of Total Recall elements to it. Can I really trust my brain? If I shoot you, are there actually consequences if this is just a simulation?
It's very Philip K. Dick in a way.
And it's very creepy, and it's really weird because you're like, I can't really trust myself or my mind. And that's terrifying to think that you can't trust your own mind. Yeah, totally. It's very scary. I just do you have any kind of thoughts or theories about like why these type of themes were so popular in like the late 90s? Well, again, because like the internet was such a big thing, we were able to share more ideas more quickly, more frequently. The world was changing in a really like rapid way, like the technology boom. And I think it just scared a lot of people because what is something people always do with something new and exciting is that there's always people who come along and ruin it, who make it a negative place, not necessarily a good place, because you can be whoever you want to be on the internet. You can change your name. You can have a username. You know, you can be that. You can be David Tennant Lover 53, not Lily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can lie your way across the internet and be whoever you like. That's another like what was it? Chat rooms and like older singles chat rooms who people would meet each other across like the country, and then they'd meet each other and be like, well, you're not really who you said you were. I can think of two couples who got divorced after meeting each other on the internet in the early thousands, because they ended up not being who they said they were. One of them went to my church, and then another one was like an old family friend from Michigan. They just started getting on chat rooms one day and met their future husbands, and didn't end well. Didn't end well.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it was just like maybe just like a fear of being programmed, but we're allowing ourselves to be programmed. Ooh, buy the shiny new thing. Everybody wants the shiny new thing. My dad only just got an iPhone. Like, because he just didn't want to be that, to buy into it, even though it's it's sleek, it's faster. You can talk to your kids better on it. You can check your email on the go. Because he would always be like, oh, I need to get home. I'm waiting for an email from the contractor or whatever. Like,
yeah,
like, I think most people will be honest and say, yeah, I have bought into Apple. I have bought into the latest streaming service and this, because they make us need it. I don't want to sound like a crackpot tinfoil hat person right now, but they do make us want it. That's what marketing is. But yeah, I think it's just like, I think it was probably just like a fear of being programmed without realizing it. You know, it's a new type of propaganda. This time it has buttons.
Yeah, totally. Because that's a lot of it is just like feeling, because that's kind of what the internet can be. You can create your own reality. And I think that's what we've discovered is like what happens. People create their own reality. And in their reality, it could be the Earth is flat. It could be, Elvis isn't dead. Tupac isn't dead. It could be, whoever is the alien, they're reptiles, rule the world. It could be anything. It could be anything. And on the internet, all that stuff exists. Yeti,
Sasquatch, like it.
And
no, go ahead.
What's crazy too is that it's really kind of crazy how much control some of these things have. Like the actual aliens, like the actual strangers, are actual human people who program like your Facebook feed. Like they're the ones who are actually doing this fucking dark city shit in real life.
It's like, yeah, oh, you visited a site where you were looking at handbags? Here's all the ads for handbags. Look at this little shop on Etsy that designs, personalized, unique handbags that only you will have. Or I need a new headphones. Saw a bunch of ads for headphones.
Because they can totally, like, people who are like on Facebook a lot, like they can totally control a lot of what you think and how you feel. They can just they can manipulate your feed so that you see different stuff. They could manipulate the ads you see, and they can just you can really change someone just from that.
Yeah, program them. That's program them to want, to feel like they need to keep, because let's face it, we don't need to keep consuming most of the crap that we have. Like I did actually need a new computer, so that would have been a shitty example. But I don't need this. I don't actually need this. I wanted it. And it's shiny, and it's got some nice colors on it. It has all of my favorite flavors, except for the mystery flavor. That one sucks. I end up giving those to my partner's kid.
They're not going to waste.
Exactly. I don't need it. I'm made to want it because it tastes good. And it, like I said, it's got colors and it pops. But at least I think most people are aware of the fact that they don't need a lot of things. But
yeah. But the things like
But someone at
your
Airheads
Pinocchio. Yeah. Mhm.
was like, "This is perfect for her,"
And we're gonna find a way to get her to buy it.
and they keep making it easier. They keep
They
making
do.
it. They keep making it easier to get things, to buy things. Like that, you now have coupon codes and Amazon Prime, and
Did you buy that at a store or did you buy it online?
I got it online.
Oh my God! See, that's so perfect.
Oh, dude,
That's so perfect.
our bed set came from Amazon. I didn't go to a store. I didn't go to Best Buy to get my computer. I waited 3 days. Yeah.
Well, that was the right choice.
Yeah.
I'll say that was the right choice.
And with COVID, it's even easier. It's even better. I wonder how many people signed up for Amazon Prime after COVID hit who didn't have it before because they were like, "Oh, I'll just go to the store and get it. I don't mind." Or, like delivery changed in a huge way. Restaurants that never even wanted or needed to offer it before now had to make a profit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
We're easily programmed individuals or beings, you know what I mean? And it's creepy if you think about it too long, but
you can't think about it too much.
Yeah, you can't. Just keep living your life. Keep buying your Amazon Prime shit. You get it in a day. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can't because the thing about it is like, like imagine if trying to think of a good example of this, but like let's say that you really like someone told you, oh, this guy's an alien, he's a reptile alien, and he's like, let's say it was someone I don't know you knew or whatever. He's like, oh yeah, Billy Bob down the street, he's an alien, he's one of them,
He's a them.
Yeah. No, now imagine everyone you knew said that. They all everyone said that. Where they're like, yeah, that guy, Billy, like maybe he didn't live near you, but he was like, it's like you go on the internet and they're like, oh, here's proof Billy Bob is an alien. He's a reptile. You believe that. And how would you then learn the truth if Billy Bob wasn't an alien?
Yeah.
Would you be able to do enough work to actually unlearn that false idea? You probably wouldn't. So you would just kind of just go with the default.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of us do. Because if you went out and you met the guy and then you took his blood or did an X-ray, no, he's a human being. That could unlearn that thing for you if you were, or any person was willing to see new evidence and then change. But doing all that work can be really hard, especially the more kind of convoluted the idea is. The more work it takes to unweave the whatever it is, how deep the idea is. And so a lot of us were just like, oh, well, everyone says he's a reptile alien, so it must be true.
Yeah, and that goes into a mob mentality thing, which I think was way harder to control oneself way back in the day when someone would be like, yeah, Bertha's a witch.
Yeah,
she's a witch. Or a case, again, in New Hampshire where this guy's family members kept dropping dead. They would get really sick and they'd be coughing up blood and they would be just dead within days. And finally, this mob comes to his house and are like, we think they're vampires. So what we want to do is dig up your dead kids, cut them open, and if there's blood in there, they're vampires. And then we got to burn the bodies. We just got to do it. They did it, not understanding that most of them died in the winter. And winters in New England are terrible. You can't dig in the ground. So their bodies were well preserved. Now that is just, we know now is just ignorance. They didn't know any better. Small minds and stuff like that. But that's what it gets to is she's got to be a vampire. She's got to be a vampire. That's why this stuff is happening. They all had TB.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
So it's totally. I think it's a safer world. We don't get that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go to Billy Bob's house and be like, I'm going to cut you open and you're going to
I'm gonna cut you off.
you're going to be a lizard underneath and I'm going to tear off your skin suit and
the Bill Boss, no, I'm not a lizard.
I was like, I don't know, you got shifty eyes. I saw you outside at night one time and I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
His eyes glowed. They glowed in the dark like a lizard.
Well, it was like that perfect episode of The Twilight Zone when that neighborhood goes crazy thinking that they're the ones. No, it's my neighbor that's doing it. No, it's you. I saw you outside. He has, insomnia. Doesn't explain it. Why are you up so late at night? Why are you looking at my trash cans from across the street in your own yard on your property? It's the paranoia. But there's no way to disprove that Billy Bob isn't a
exactly
shape-shifting monster. So
exactly, and then it's like just that perfect example you gave of like all these people who are like, oh, they're a vampire. Mm-hmm. Like that's why that happened. They're vampires, and then they dig up the body, and then they're like, oh, see, they're vampires.
Mercy Brown. That's what it's called, the Mercy Brown incident. Yeah. But yeah, it was just. And this poor guy, he just indulged the mob because if he didn't, what were they going to do?
They were going to fucking kill him.
Exactly.
They're going to think he's a vampire too. They're going to bring the fucking garlic.
This is the late 1800s when people had stopped burning witches. They stopped believing in vampires. They stopped so many things. But you get a small group of people who are really scared and all hell breaks loose. I sound like the Joker right now.
But it's true. Like that's what happens with that mentality. People can be easily brought to believe different things. Like you just said with the memory, like you can implant memories. That's crazy and scary.
Yeah, I mean, MK Ultra was trying to do brainwashing and to control people's minds. It didn't work, but they figured out a whole bunch of other ways to screw with the mind and what can break a person. Oh, let's just keep giving them LSD. You want LSD for 50 days in a row? Let's do it. Let's do it. They were giving it to people who didn't even know they were taking it. Just to see what would happen.
That's so fucking crazy. Right? That's so insane.
Yeah, they were giving it at cocktail parties. They were giving it to prostitutes and planting cameras and being like, let's see what this guy says when he's tripping on LSD and doesn't even know it. Like, they were all to try and use mind control.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, totally insane.
It's so crazy what some people will do and rationalize.
Yeah.
Too. Like, yeah, they're vampires. I don't know why, but we're going to do it.
And then someone probably implants the idea, oh, well, my daughter got bit by one of them. Just make some shit up. Yeah.
You don't even have a daughter. Well, she got bit.
She got bit. Look at her arm. Look at it. You see that? It's a bite.
Yep.
One of them bit her.
I feel like we sometimes program ourselves because fear is so strong. So we have to rationalize it. And I forgive it up until a point in time. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we should be thinking better than this. We should be doing better because we know vampires aren't real. Like, it's just some dude walking down the street with a cape. Like, because he thinks he's cool.
Yeah, it's some dude. He's a goth dude. He's not gonna bite you or whatever.
Yeah, I don't. Honestly, in my experience with goths, they're really harmless. They're really harmless.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just people that they can't sleep, so they walk around at night. They're kind of morbid, so they like hanging out at cemeteries. There's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean that you suck people's blood and you're immortal. Like, that's the other thing, too. Like, okay, so they died, but they're vampires? Like, what?
Exactly. Like, because so Bram Stoker actually read about the Mercy Brown story and thought it was super weird. And then there was other things he was doing working before he wrote the novel Dracula. But yeah, one of the things was that before the Dracula thing came along, it was really just people rising from the dead. And it was more soul sucking. They were sucking the soul out and they were like, the blood, because people at one point, doctors believed the soul was in blood, and that's why vampires are like after it. But there was actually a time when members of families would watch over the graves of their dead loved ones because doctors didn't always get it right. This happened a lot with criminals who were hung. It didn't always work, and they just passed out from choking or whatever, and then they would wake up underground. and claw their way out, and that's where zombies come from. There's your history lesson, kids. It was just some guy who got hung for horse thievery, and he took a nap.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a grafdigger's cage?
A what?
It's this thing called I believe it's called a grafdigger's cage. You should look it up. So I think it was from that era. So they got really paranoid. So what they did was when they buried you, they put a cage around your coffin. Yeah. So you would see this cage on top of the coffin. So they're like, well, if it's a zombie, they're going to get caught in the cage and they can't get out. That's what they started doing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy.
At least the Egyptians took care of their dead, they gave them a bath. They, they took out the organs and stuff. You were in a room surrounded by your best friends and all of your favorite valuables.
Yeah. Let me see if I can show you. I'll bring up a image of it. Let me see here. It's some crazy stuff. Like this was like things that people really did. Like
God, the past was the worst.
Yeah. So this is what I'm talking about.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Hold on. How can I? Ooh, this. Yeah. So that's a graph. That's what they would do. I forget exactly what it's called. I don't know if it's called that, but they would put the cage around the grave.
Oh my God.
So that if so basically the theory was, oh well, if it's a zombie, they're gonna get trapped in this thing. Or a vampire or whatever. If they come back from the dead, they're gonna get trapped in this thing.
God, that's crazy.
And that's insane, right? Some people actually believe like, nah, dude, he could be a zombie or a vampire or whatever. So we gotta put this cage over his grave so he doesn't come out and attack us.
Oh my God. That literally like the past and death is a very strange thing. Like it really is. Like some of the things that they thought would happen or do happen, or oh my God, it's so weird. Once you think you've learned enough, like something else like that. I had no idea that was a thing. That's crazy. But it makes sense. It makes sense.
It does, yeah. So I think that about covers it. It's a fun conversation. Dark City. Very interesting film. It's like a cult film, I'd say.
Oh yeah, it's got cult film written all over it. It does.
It's super culty. Yeah, it's a cool one. So so hopefully we'll be back sometime in the future. We'll figure out what kind of film we're going to talk about next. Something to think about. So before this started, we were talking about Cloud Atlas, which is a fun movie. Yeah, very long movie. Maybe we'll review that at some point in the future. I don't know if we're done with the 90s yet, but we'll see. We'll see if there's any other 90s movies.
There's so much to be had from the 90s. It's such a weird decade. It really is. Like
it's weird.
It's got a lot there, and I feel like people don't really get, how like the horror genre usually gets snubbed a lot by like award shows. Not so much now anymore. I feel like horror is in kind of like a golden age a little bit with certain filmmakers.
There's definitely like a lot of prestige horror.
Yes. For sure. I think we're going to be seeing like that changing during award seasons. I feel like they're not ready to give in just yet. But fuck, I totally forgot where I was going with this. God damn it.
It's all right.
That makes me so mad.
I know, I hate it. Don't you hate when you lose?
I had a point. I swear to God, I had a point, guys. I swear. This is just me. This is just how I am. I have normal conversations and I forget where I'm going and talking about.
It happens.
But there's going to be another Conjuring-like movie coming out soon.
Yes, there is going to be a Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. That was interesting. So they like in the trailer, they had this like So basically, one of the scares in the movie is like there's a demon in a waterbed.
Yes, this is also. I recently listened to a podcast about this exact story, and it.
Oh, that's a real thing?
Yeah, this is based on a true
The
story.
demon. Wait. Was the demon in a waterbed? Did that happen?
Basically, the story goes that these people bought a house, and there was still some furniture left in it, and it was like their dream house, and there was a waterbed that had been left behind. And the man and woman who bought it were like fucking around on the waterbed. They were just like, oh, look how funny this is. Like, I left a waterbed. Who actually owns a waterbed? And that is something that pissed off a demon or something like that.
Oh my God.
And it attached itself to a younger, like the man's nephew first. And then at some point he was like, if you're going to pick on someone, pick on someone your own size. And the demons were kind of like, okay, as the story goes. And basically the crux of it is, can you prove possession? Can you prove that a demon made you do something?
Yeah.
When because back in these days, they took lie detector tests way more seriously than they are now, which we know they are not reliable now.
Yes.
And he passed a lie detector test when he said he didn't remember what happened. Demon possession is a weird thing because it happens way more frequently than I think people think it happens. Like whether or not it's real or trauma based is totally up for debate.
Yeah, people believe it.
No, it's based on a true story.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that. All right, cool. So yeah, I think we'll see what we're gonna do next week or whenever we do the next one. But yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. And take care, and may the force be with you.
Live long and prosper.